Hello everyone, this is Michael again. Again here with custom rules for GitLab Duo Agentic Chat and the agent platform. And in today's use case, we want to look into Java and required versions. So if you're familiar with the Java ecosystem, there are specific versions of framework releases available, Java 7, Java 8, I think there's Java 9 somewhere, and more modern versions and standards with Java 21 and going forward. Oftentimes it's required in enterprises to stick with a specific version. Everything has been tested, security compliance all around. And modern agents or like AI agents and LLMs oftentimes want to produce code in the most current releases and might not always respect what the development requirements are. So in order to install that, we want to use custom rules and showcase that in an example project. So here I've created an employee management system. It's relatively simple and straightforward, but provides you with some insight of like what are the key Java 8 concepts and so on. What I did was I have cloned it locally, and we will look into this in a bit. But there are two issues over here. So one is to add a new feature, which we will be looking into shortly, to see whether our rules are followed. And there's also a to be defined modernize issue to kind of update or bump the version to Java 21. The interactive Java operations provides with some tasks and insights how to implement that. Just make sure we will remember now it's issue number 2 because we want to reference that later on. Now let's shortly switch to IntelliJ IDE, which is from JetBrains for Java environments, which I already checked out here, and you can see the project is here. We do have a Java implementation for employee management, and specifically the class for the employee, which has specific attributes like name, salary, department, and so on. So it's a pretty basic example, but everything is written using Java 8. We want to enforce that. So in order to enforce that, I've also created a new custom rule in this repository for GitLab Duo Agentic Chat. This can be done, and this is also described in the documentation. You can create, and you need to create a .gitlab directory. Then inside a Duo directory, and inside there is a chat-rules.md file, which I have opened up over here. So it's free-form text, so you're not forced to kind of using Markdown, but it's considered best practice to provide some structure and being able to maintain that over time. The Java style guide enforces this to only use Java 8 when suggesting or editing code. And when the user keeps asking for code modernization, and for example Java 9 or 21 or newer, where the agents should point them to this issue to contribute. And this is essentially issue number 1, which we've seen before. It's about modernizing the application to Java 21. And if you consider that in a large-scale project or environment, it takes time and it takes a lot of tasks and has a lot of dependencies to really modernize an application. But this can also be achieved with using agentic AI, which we'll be looking into a different demo. For now, let's consider that we want to use Java 8 and use those rules for adding a new feature. So let's focus on GitLab Duo Agentic Chat, which is currently in beta on the agent platform, which you can open by clicking here, have it open, and let's start with a prompt and say, please help me implement issue 2. Which is the reference to the new feature, and press enter to submit the prompt. You can see that Agentic Chat included the instructions. So the chat rules file is put into context, and it also automatically looks up issue number 2 from the remote GitLab server, where I'm authenticated against with my user account in the JetBrains IDE. Now it starts examining and analyzing the source code to get a better insight of what's there. It also looks into the repository itself and tries to understand what it is. So it tries to, well, it comes up with a solution to implement that. So an employee query builder, employee analytics, interactive command line interfaces, and salary statistics, and starts with the implementation. I do know there is sometimes a bug with JetBrains itself or IntelliJ to update that, but it could also be taking some time, so it's now creating those files. And we can see it's creating the employee query builder right now. And so it will continue with the proposed changes. What it should do, and what it will do, is it will only use Java 8 code, which is actually put out here. So it's following the defined standards, and it's not attempting to use any modern source code here, which is great. And continues with the implementation. So this can take a while, and I would recommend doing that for smaller or for mid-sized projects. For larger scale projects, it can be helpful to first create a plan, review that plan, and then actually approve that. So rather than using an agentic chat prompt for that, you could, for example, use the software development flow in the agent platform to create a plan and then execute that, which can be helpful for larger repositories, but also code modernization tasks and whatnot. But to get started, it's fairly fine to kick off Duo Agentic Chat for that. It's making its pathway through the files and then considers it now wants to run a command. So it wants to create a directory. Actually, the program is mkdir, and we hit approve. So it can create the repository, the directory for the tests, and makes sure that all functionality works correctly, which is actually a good thing that it does that by default. Let's see if we can reload that from disk. Sometimes this is a little buggy. Okay, now it's updated. We can see that the new implementation, which essentially should open up here. Let's move it there, and it also has all the different imports it needs, define the package, implements the functionality, and so on. This can take a while, so I don't want to kind of speed up the recording, but you can certainly scroll and move forward, because this is like the real experience, not just some edited video. It creates the query builder test, the analytics test, and let's see what else it will be creating. When thinking about custom rules themselves, these are just a small comprehensive example of what you can do. Certainly you might have more style guides, more rules, more requirements in your environment, which you can then add iteratively. So my recommendation when working with custom rules is you start with a small set, you verify them working, whether in a team group programming session or otherwise, and then consider like adding more and more and more, and then refine that. So it's never finished in that way, especially since agentic AI and LLMs are sort of oftentimes unpredictable in the things they do. Find best common sense or common agreement on the custom rules, just to make sure that you don't have to always type in, hey, let's modernize the application, followed by only use Java 8 or only use Java whatever version you required. This is not efficient, and when it gets forgotten, you need to restart from scratch again. Now it wants to run Maven test. Let's approve that. So it can actually verify that the tests work. And It should also be able to compile that. It tries a different approach. No, it actually wants to compile. This is good. And now it wants to find old Java file. Okay, now it starts with the next approach. And made sure that the code compiled successfully. So now we actually want to. And the next step is to update the README so we know about the new features. And I don't know what JetBrains now said, but potentially we're seeing an error here by editing the readme.md file. Let's check on the readme.md file what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know exactly. Let's check that after the recording. You can see it's adding the running tests and so on. And it's still working, so I don't know exactly what's currently going on. But it came to the conclusion, or agents came to the conclusion, that it adds a comment on the issue to document the implementation, and this will trigger a new command run, I think, essentially to create that in the GitLab project. And this is still very raw, so you can see it's very transparent or very verbose in a way that it asks us to create that, or it shows us to create that, and this is marked on formatted on what it did. So and you can see it has created a comment, or it logs that it will add the comment, which then triggers a tool in the background with agents, and they will actually update the GitLab issue for us, which shows the great platform integration with GitLab Duo. It's not just in the IDE, but you can essentially work with issues, merge requests, epics, and whatnot. We can sneak peek into the issue while it's generating an answer. No, we can just stay here. It streams us what it did in an overview, and it follows the Java 8 standards. So we can see here the key components are delivered, the features are implemented, the instructions how to use it, and all the acceptance criteria, which is great. Now let's quickly go back to now let's quickly go back to the issue that it updated before, so we can actually see that, and scroll down, and you can see just now it's kind of using my my identity here. It summarizes what has been implemented and so on. Certainly we need to create a branch and push to merge request. We can also ask Agentic Chat to do so, but I will skip that as in a matter of time. I also want to show you quickly what happens if I say please implement Java 21 functionality for these features. And my expectation here is it won't allow me to do that. The development style guide says, well, it's not allowed. So I should direct you to issue number 1, where you can contribute to discussions about modernizing code base to newer Java versions. You can find the issue here. Would you like me to help you contribute to that issue instead, or is there anything else I can help you with Java 8 features? So it rejects modernizing the code base to Java 21, which is also a great way for custom rules in that repository. Now, to summarize what we've seen today, we've defined the custom rules, enforcing Java 8 standards, and also providing a development issue for modernizing the code when users keep asking for that. We've implemented new features based on an issue directly referenced in the IDE here in Duo Agentic Chat. Continued watching the file creation and the edits. We were able to get a summary and also like an automatically posted comment on that issue. And we've also tried to force Java 21 into implementation now and got a response that we're not allowed to do that and instead should contribute to an existing modernization issue, which can also be a great way to track all the different requirements. I've done that myself, probably not with Java, but with C++, but code modernization is a huge topic and doesn't work in a day or in a week, I would say. So I hope this demonstration around custom rules with Duo Agentic Chat was helpful. I wish you a great day wherever you are in the world, and we see each other next time in the next use case recording. Bye-bye.